What's up? Welcome to the Vikings Squad Show. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Those with 8.5 win tickets are clutching them tightly right now.
What's happening? Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. I desperately need some coverage of Snoop Dogg and Andrea Bocelli's group chat conversations. What does that look like?
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings. If the Vikings covered all their kickoffs normally, this would be for a playoff game.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan with WideLeft.Football. My research has uncovered the fact that Luke Braun would be the perfect HDP candidate.
Skol! It's the Viking Squad. Everything Minnesota Vikings, every week. Breaking down all the big hits and game-changing plays from the land of 10,000 lakes. The way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. It's time to gear up. The Viking Squad Show starts now.
What's up? Back from holiday break here on the Vikings Squad Show. We're so glad to be back. You met the Lukes, you met Arif, and I'm Sam Ekstrom. We're streaming live on the Locked On Vikings YouTube channel. Get our audio wherever you get your podcasts on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. It's all part of the #1 sports podcast network, and it's brought to you by no title sponsor today. That was a whiff, but it's a live show. And we are going to roll on today.
Brought to you by Will Reichard. We just love him.
Brought to you by Will Reichard. Brought to you by a Christmas Day win against the Detroit Lions. We will recap the all-time vibes. Luke Braun was in the building. He was waving his arms to Andrea Bocelli and Snoop. We'll get his feedback. We'll talk about whether this Vikings team in its current state and JJ McCarthy could win a playoff game. They won't get that chance, but they're actually going to get much closer than we ever thought they would. Brian Flores, it's been reported, is a free agent coming up after this season. Who could swipe him under the Minnesota Vikings' noses? Plus our Monday nerdy stats, as we are accustomed to. Glad you're with us here in the Vikings Squad Show. So, Braun, you were there. You were in the building. Were you head to toe white? Were you just jersey, like hat? How white were you?
Underneath, head to toe. But no, I was rocking what my Christmas gift was a 1998 Randy Moss white jersey.
Ooh.
Oh,
but I didn't have white pants.
Wow.
Saucy.
Which is the best possible jersey.
Champion.
You have white
what's
pants.
the brand on that? 98. Because I think I had a.
I can go get it and look, but I
Is it
don't
a
know.
starter brand?
Starter jersey.
Which was pretty fun. It was a banging time. I was there with my dad and my aunt and my uncle, and we all walked into that thinking, we're going to get obliterated. Like, this is going to be awful. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of never happened. And by the time, like, Jordan Addison scored that touchdown, we were, like, jumping up and down. We were, like, so the 4 people next to us left early. They left at, like, halftime, right? And so there was a ton of space next to us. It was Christmas. I'm sure they had plans or whatever, but
But your plans are to go to half a game?
Yeah.
I guess
They wanted Snoop.
We didn't.
They got tickets to see Snoop Dogg. Football was an accessory.
But so they weren't there. So there was a bunch of space next to us, and when that happened, my 63-year-old father jumped up and down so much he cleared like 5 seats. Like, we were going nuts. Like, they had just like secured a playoff spot or something in this meaningless game, and it. I did a whole thing on Locked On Vikings about, like, man, like, there was nothing to play for, and it still felt that fun. There is something beautiful, so beautiful to that, that is worth so much more to me than, like, the difference between drafting 13th and 15th.
Watching the broadcast, the energy felt like it kept ramping up slowly but surely. It kept building after the third turnover, fourth turnover, fifth turnover. Every time they showed those crowd shots, it felt like by the way, like, game's still coin flip at this point, like, offense not doing anything. But it did feel like the vibes were very good, and not just for the concert itself, but it felt like Netflix did a pretty good job, all things considering, top to bottom with that.
Yeah, there was no point where I really felt comfortable until the Addison touchdown. At 10-7, I said, no, the Vikings.
Like, surely it's happening, right? Like, surely they're going to.
Yeah, 13-7, they wasted their opportunities. They're wasting these takeaways. They're not scoring touchdowns. 13-10, Lions are going to get it back, go down and score. Still would have felt pretty cool, like, to be in the game that long.
Right.
And then to win it in that fashion, like Van Ginkel getting that late takeaway. Obviously the Addison run was phenomenal. Arif, this surpasses Joe Webb on a Tuesday night, I think.
No, it doesn't.
Like
Absolutely not.
Don't think I can go there.
No, absolutely not. But
it was a Thursday.
Great.
It wasn't a Tuesday. It was a Thursday. I know. I get it. It was Christmas.
For me, it was just a Tuesday. No, I can't go there with you, Sam. I can't go as far as forsaking Joe Webb Tuesday night, but I can say that was really fun. I think Braun's point about kind of re-injecting, that's why they play the game kind of stuff, right? Like having a good feeling about just having a season or having a game with nothing to play for and still playing your heart out was really awesome. I think I was pretty nervous just because what was this, like the second scoring offense in the NFL heading into the game or something like that? It just feels like, of course, at some point this offense is going to come alive and punish the Vikings for not being able to move the ball. Max Brosmer with in garbage time finally producing net positive passing yards. Like I've never seen that.
Oh yeah, life. Our whole section went nuts when he popped over 0 for a second, and then took another second, went back below, and we were like, no,
I riding the wave.
Score.
Yeah, I saw your post. It's like the stadium went more wild for net positive passing yards than they did for the 45-yard touchdown or whatever it was.
Yeah, because it's up there at US Bank Stadium. Like the net passing yards is up there constantly. So everybody at some point looked up and saw negative, and then went, "Oh God, we got to get over 0." Right.
Also, just the concept of knocking the Lions out of the playoffs as well, right?
Just fun.
Just
I mean, again, Sam, I think you posed this question 4 or 5 weeks ago. What if the Vikings win 5 in a row at the end of the season? What kind of momentum does that build for the offseason? But here, nobody really, I think, at the time took that seriously. We lost, I think, 3 in a row at 4. Was it 4 in a row? And then 6 of 7 up to that point.
Yeah, we were 4-4, and then we were 4-8, and now we're 8-8.
Right. Nobody thought we were going to rip out 5 in a row, but to do that, and then obviously we got a meaningless game next week as far as playoff implications go with the Packers. But to do that on Christmas Day, Netflix Thursday game, a Snoop Dogg, the whole thing, but also knock Dan Campbell, who looked like he was maybe going to shed a tear over there on the sideline, to knock the Lions, who had Super Bowl aspirations, by the way. A lot of people, Sam, you joked about what was our over-under? I think it moved, but 7.5, maybe it started and then got bumped up to 8.5. Lions had Super Bowl aspirations, and to knock them out of the playoffs at home on Christmas Day, that also was added just a little extra present in the stocking, it felt like.
Yeah, three weeks ago. I'm still saying I think the Lions are the best team in the division 3 weeks ago. Like they could win the Super Bowl. That's how I felt about Detroit. So now to be in this position where you're ahead of them in the NFC North standings is bizarre. You almost doubled their turnovers for the season in one game. They had 8 and they gave it to you 6 times. Vintage. I think the Harrison Smith vibes added a whole other layer to it. Unbelievable performance in possibly his penultimate game.
Iconic. Yeah, the standing ovation when they put him on. I don't know if the broadcast caught that at all, but they at the end of the game, they put him up on the whiteboard and all his teammates are swarming him and stuff because he's been having such a crazy game.
Yeah, we saw that.
Waving off the heat check, waving off the heat.
Yeah, oh yeah, that was great. But it was after that. It was during the final couple of running plays the Vikings were doing just to kill the clock. And they just put a camera on him sitting on the bench in the total standing ovation, and he's like, oh my God, you can tell
he was tearing up in the post game in the locker room. He was tearing
up with Ben Lieber on the field in the post game too. That was that was this really it doesn't matter what happens in this game against Green Bay. To me, that will always be his final game.
That's a send off. It was beautiful. I think just all of it coming together. The way he talked about it in the locker room was really touching, right? And ending it with I know at some point Vikings fans are gonna get it. That was so cool, dude. That was so cool. It's just there are a lot of things that have emerged from the game that just feel like they remind you of why you're a fan in a way that's beyond the bean counting of figuring out playoff position or draft position or whatever. It was really cool. There's a humanity attached to it. I still never want a Christmas game again. F that.
Especially a meaningless one.
Yeah.
How about that whole slate? I mean,
the whole slate, yeah, because they
really thought they had something preseason though. Like
they did.
And
just let the NBA
Daniels.
have Christmas. Just let the NBA
and like
have
you
it.
like you can't really when the schedule comes, you can't really argue it, right?
No, look good.
Macho Beach. You can't really argue it that like in the preseason that they messed up because it's like, oh yeah, Chiefs Broncos. We don't know how good the Broncos will be, but surely it'll have some.
Maybe they can play spoiler.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Right, and like you had the two competing for the number 1 seed. On Christmas, like okay, that makes sense. And it's just like there's like one team in there that like had real aspirations, and it was the Broncos of all teams.
Had a reason to play.
Second weakest schedule in the NFL. Yeah, so like. It was so bizarre how that all played out. But like, yeah, I hate, obviously if Christmas falls on like a Sunday or something like that, whatever. But like, man, I hated that. Nevertheless, the game gave us a lot, I think, kind of emotionally and fulfilling.
Has the NFL flexed any games this year? Obviously, it doesn't happen until the very end of the season. These last 2
yeah, because week 18 is all like up for grabs.
Yeah,
so
week 18 is all
it wouldn't count as
not even a flex.
Right.
Yeah. I will say it's very cool that we're kind of back to basics here. The Vikings are 500 and the Lions are at the bottom of the North.
Yeah, it feels right.
We're back.
The world is right.
It's been to use another
Carson Smith
show,
is
bit of the upside down with the Lions on top. Did love it.
Commenter saying fathers everywhere ignoring their children's joy to watch Josh Johnson, Max Brosmer, Chris Oladokin. This was 100% our family at the in-laws on Christmas, kids opening presents, and we're like, oh, there goes Addison. There he goes. There he goes. Is he in?
That party. That 30. That 30.
When I was a kid on Christmas, I think the thing I wanted the most was for the parents to leave me alone so I could play with all my new stuff. So
that's probably fair. Yeah.
I would have been.
We ignored them. We did what they wanted. We
also had a great time.
Christmas is all about.
Also, we get like a critical Malik Willis, Tyler Huntley game.
Oh man,
that was sick.
that was such a
great game.
And
then Clayton Tune had to come along and ruin it. And now he's probably playing Sunday against Brian Flores and is about to possibly die. He's probably going to die.
I can't wait to ask Peter about this. Do you think they should play Jordan Love? He's been out for 2 weeks. Do you think they want to knock a little rust off, like just for a half? Like the Vikings did a couple years ago against the Bears?
I think they're
like
soft
preseason vibes.
They're soft pitching. I mean, well, yeah, Malik Willis has outperformed statistically Jordan Love, so that would
be... So they're soft benching Jordan Love. Like, oh, no, he's injured. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of fantasy football championships that were saved or ruined by Malik Willis, of all people, this week, pretty funny.
If you had the stones to play him,
Henry, dude.
Yeah. If you were playing, if you're in the fantasy championship, but also playing Malik Willis,
incredible move.
If you had Jordan Love, hey, I wrote Jordan Love, and now I got to pick somebody up.
I'm confident that there are a couple of people in fantasy championships that were doing the weird streaming quarterback strategy, and this would have been the perfect week for.
Let me ask this in closing for this segment: did Max Brosmer kibosh his chances of being like a multi-year backup quarterback in this league? Was this his Sean Mannion game where he kind of ruined his opportunity?
No, because by default he gets camp next year, which will make all this stuff not matter. Like he's under contract, they're not going to cut him. It doesn't do him any good to cut him. They'll bring him into camp and he'll get a chance to compete. So he kind of by default gets a mulligan on all this.
But he's not going to be the backup for this team next year. So is he going to ever get a chance to be a number 2? Right?
Well, what if he beats the guy in preseason again?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Nathan Peterman is still a backup in this league. And
is he really?
Like
that's wild.
Yeah. And they're like running out of like wily vets, right? Like Josh Johnson is 39. It has to end at some point. Statistically, Josh Johnson must retire. And Phillip Rivers, we're running out of quarterbacks, man. So Max Brosmer's gonna have maybe a shot, I think, to be not next year, but I think he'll stick around quarterback 3, and then maybe 2 years from now, 3 years from now, he'll have an opportunity to compete for a quarterback 2 job somewhere. And I think someone will take him up on that offer.
Yeah, I think he'll be here for his contract, but when he gets cut, it'll be after a preseason, not after games. And by the time it's August, this stuff is going to feel like ancient history.
To his credit, he learned a lesson from the Seattle game. I'm just not going to throw the ball. I'm just not going to
Can't throw an interception if you don't throw
any.
defense.
I'm taking the sack. I'm taking one for the team. And to his credit, 0 turnovers in the game. One fumble could have been bad. One fumble.
Kind of like the key stat is they turned it over 6 times and Max Brosmer never turned it over.
Okay,
did they need all 6
Braun.
though? Did they need all 6?
Trying to figure out if like
it's a 2-score win.
Figure out if like
less fraudulent than anything the 2022 Vikings did.
2-score win. But yeah, trying to figure out if 3 sacks
Bears
is worse
are doing
than 1 pick is. Oh Jesus, dude.
Had a great point.
Yeah, didn't have his full starting 5 line up there.
3 of 5 backup linemen. You got Michael Jordan's out
Mason.
there, much to the Vikings' chagrin, because they very clearly hate that guy now.
Hawkinson, right?
Yeah, no Hawkinson.
Just stay in line and block, but still.
And some of the like key Hawkinson routes that Josh Oliver was running were really bad. And like took forever, and that hurts. Like some of that stuff is not as. I'm actually going to work either today or tomorrow on a video on my Patreon page about all the sacks. Patreon.com/LukeBraun NFL. Go check it out.
Yeah, Hawkinson needs to be on the team next year. I know that's a trendy cut candidate. He needs to be on the Vikings. I did want to make the point, Braun. You probably missed this at the game. They had Max Brosmer's parents in the stands, and it was. It was rough. It was rough stuff. They just kept flashing back to them, and the mom never changed positions. She was just like nervous pose, like hands on face,
like the lady
3.5 hours
watching the trial fight in Game of Thrones when the guy gets his eyes gouged out.
Yeah. Great analogy. And
wow,
hey,
what a play.
They got to pat their son on the back
the
at the end of all that and say, "Hey, you won, buddy. You won. You're a winning quarterback in the NFL."
500 quarterback Max Brosmer. There's only one quarterback in the Vikings trio with a losing record.
Caliph Tom in the comments, McCarthy will never even reach the playoffs, let alone win a playoff game. Well, that's the question for the next segment. Could McCarthy, with this iteration of the Vikings, have gone into the playoffs as a 7th seed and won a playoff game? We debate that next on the Squad Show. Brought to you today by Prize Picks. Whether you're starting a new routine for the new year, jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge, but with Prize Picks, it always feels good to be right. High-pressure football matchups coming up in the NFL playoffs. Elite hoops action. NBA and college basketball getting into conference play. Action does not slow down. Prize Picks lets you stay in control. It's a daily fantasy app, makes watching sports more exciting, letting you build lineups based on player projections. No drafts, no waiting. Pick more or less on at least 2 player stats and play your way. It's quick, it's simple, it's easy to navigate. I love Prize Picks. I like just checking out the board, seeing what the projections are, then kind of just studying it, putting together the entry. There's a flex play. You don't have to be perfect. You go like 3 out of 4, 4 out of 5, still pays out. Early payouts feature, game changer if a player starts hot. Cash out before the game ends. Very cool new feature. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. All right, let me blow your minds with some stats to kick this segment off. Could JJ McCarthy, and he might play Sunday, we don't know. Hairline fracture, not sure. Vikings are favored by 5.5, by the way.
6.5, I think.
Someone said 6.5 in the comments. It could be moving. The last
I know what my
games,
bet's going to be.
The last 4 games, Vikings allowed 12 points a game, plus 7 in the take give. I would argue they've got 3 legit, just 2 legit wins for sure against desperate playoff hopefuls. Crush the Lions defensively, outscored the Cowboys. The Commanders is like half of a great win because you obliterated them. You played great, even though they're the Commanders and they lost their quarterback halfway through. The Giants game, I give them almost basically 0 credit. Who cares? You've allowed 12 points a game the last 4. JJ McCarthy, in the 3-game stretch that he got wins, was 6th in passer rating in the league in that 3-week span, 6th in completion percentage, 8th in adjusted net yards per attempt. Could that quarterback with this defense go to, say, Chicago and win a playoff game?
Specifically Chicago? Yes.
Yeah, it would likely be.
I mean,
Chicago.
look, what happened last time? I've seen, like, this would be a defense carrying a bad offense. I don't think that this iteration of the Vikings offense can really compete with anybody but the worst defenses in the league. But the defense has been playing so unbelievably lights out that, like, we've seen that happen in the playoffs before with team. Even like, I'm thinking like the 2015 Broncos, really, that defense carried a struggling offense kind of across the finish line. We've seen those games where you defense just kind of carries, and offense, they get like 16 points and 2 interceptions and whatever, and it's enough. That would be the kind of game that I think you would have to win. I don't see these guys going and, shooting them out, but like looking at what happened in San Francisco just last night with the Bears defense and how like disorganized that they were, I could see them being a game. Plus, especially if it's a divisional opponent, the third time is always weird.
Right. Yeah. What is that? 05 Packers Vikes game 3?
Yeah. 04. Yeah.
04, 05. Yeah. To your point, it's like, does this defense kind of raise the floor enough to go steal a playoff game? And to your point, again, I mean, we all know the recipe for success this late in the season, getting to the playoffs, it's how dominant of a defense do you have? Obviously, the Vikings are winning games with this bottom third kind of offense. So they've been elite, obviously, top to bottom. That always gives you a chip in a chair in the playoffs in the NFL. I think for JJ McCarthy would just be, protect the ball, hit a couple play actions, don't panic, right? And you just need to be functional, which, again, kind of a coin flip, which version of JJ you'd get, especially knowing, Sam, as you pointed out, it's not going to be against Washington. It's not even going to be against a 32nd ranked Dallas defense. It's going to be against a top tier echelon team and likely defense as well, like Chicago or Philly or whoever, maybe San Francisco, Seattle. That's especially on the road. Most likely that's a lot tougher ask for JJ McCarthy.
Yeah, if we're talking Philly, it's over.
Yeah, Philly, no chance. But JJ's won on the road. Like, that's not been impossible for him. He's gone into Dallas. He's gone into Chicago. Arif, your thoughts?
And Detroit.
Well, okay.
And Detroit.
Yeah, well, I just think that Inman's point about like these being like bottom level defenses that he's performed against is like a pretty important one when you get into the context of what that offense looks like. It looks like a fake offense to me, and I feel like it's something that a reasonably good defense, which we're very likely to find in the playoffs, will be able to shut down like really hard. Like, I think the inability to throw passes over the middle is a huge constriction on an offense that needs optionality, right? Like any real offense that is facing adversity from the defense that's playing against it won't have, the tools available to it. Being able to defeat like the 30th ranked EPA per dropback defense and then the 28th EPA per dropback defense, like, okay, cool, but like you did not have to throw one in route, like, which is nuts, right? So I understand that statistically McCarthy looked quite good, and from a traits perspective, if you're trying to figure out if he's improving, he has. There's no question in my mind that he's become a better quarterback, but that is a different question than has he become a good enough quarterback that if the team needs him to do a thing, which luckily, the team did not need Max Brosmer to do a thing, like on Christmas. But if the team needs him to do anything, if the defense can't put together like a negative 0.8 EPA per play performance, then I just don't see that happening. I don't see this iteration of McCarthy, even with this iteration of the team, winning a playoff game unless we're talking about like one of the teams that we think is fraudulent. Even then, the Bears, I don't know, man, maybe. Caleb,
it's like you're probably going to see a good defense, but you also could see the Bears. I feel like that's
that was a stupid game, the Bears 49ers game.
Yeah, it was
fantastic.
That was
wild. My kingdom for a crumb of defense. But I like Can he? Yeah, sure. We've seen worse offenses get dragged by defenses across a playoff game. But I remind you that per True Media, per EPA per play, this is the worst offense that we have seen since the turn of the millennium. And the only reason we're not going further back than that is because the data runs out. This
Vikings
is the worst
offense
one.
or
Vikings offense. This is
Vikings
worse
offense.
than 2006 Kelly Holcomb. This is worse than 2010 dead Brett Favre. This is worse than anything Tavares Jackson or Christian Ponder did. This is a worse offense. It is god awful. Like, people should be fired. Ed Donatel's defense was better at defense than this offense is at offense.
This offense is also, and this is probably the biggest factor, they're down 60% of their line.
Yeah.
They're down their top tight end, and they're really good backup running back. That's the biggest issue here with putting any quarterback behind this line, as Brosmer was. It is hard to watch Justin School, and I don't want to do it ever again after Sunday. I would like that to be the last time I ever have to watch him play football. That would inhibit your chances greatly. Then again, I've seen Tim Tebow win a playoff game. Miracles can happen. Let's get into nerdy stats of the day. Favorite segment of the week.
Analytics fans rejoice. It's time to get educated.
Whoa, you're blowing my mind right now.
With the nerdy stat of the day.
Staying with the offensive line, let's give some flowers to Blake Brandel, who out of 103 offensive linemen that have played 500 or more snaps, he is one of only 3 that have played 4 positions this year. Zach Tom and Cole Van Lanen have played 4 positions like Brandel. Hats off to him. He, has it always been great? No. But he has held his own in some tough spots, some tackle spots, against good edge rushers. He had one horrific game at center, and I don't think was horrific in any other game. He's going to be on the team next year, and he's pretty important. And I think it's been pretty impressive that he's been this adaptable to all of the carnage around him. So I'm going to give a little nerdy stat hat tip to Blake Brandel for the flexibility.
What is his ideal role? Let's just say we're envisioning
Great
2026. Where do you like it? Do you like him the best just as this versatile backup that you can rely on and say, okay, the floor doesn't drop that much significantly when I lose one of the starting 5 and I go to a guy like Blake Brandel? Do you want to see him compete somewhere? What?
I think it's great when young players have to beat him for a job, but I love him as the Jeremiah Searles swing backup.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The need is going to be at center. Well, we can't count on Ryan Kelly. The need will be at center, and he got
maybe spend an offseason learning how to snap, and you got something. Maybe
he got a good stretch there.
I still think the Vikings have largely, maybe misused is the wrong word, but miscast him his entire career. I still think he's best as a tackle, and the Vikings have made him a guard for the past 2-3 years. So, he's obviously a huge asset to have, as you explained, Sam. But I don't know. I feel like there was more there, and it's been kind of wasted.
Allowed 6 pressures against Philadelphia as a center. Allowed 5 pressures over the next 4 games.
At
center.
At center, yeah. Wow.
Could absolutely be in the mix next year with that contract.
Imagine dealing with Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter too. By the way, your first game at center.
Correct.
That's the bar now. Yeah. Vikings defense since week 11. Only the Jags, Eagles, Seahawks, and Texans have allowed fewer points per drive than the Vikings. All 4 of those teams, obviously, playoff teams as well. So, tons of great stats you can pull out since about week 11 for this defense. Top 4 in defensive EPA since week 11 as well. Just absolutely domination. Offensive DVOA, 29th in the league, to Luke's point, just one of the worst offenses out there right now. Defensive DVOA, though, 6th in the league. That gap is so huge. It's one of the largest. It might be the biggest, the largest offense to defense kind of efficiency gap in the NFL. So they're winning games, obviously, with this dominant defense and a terrible offense right now.
Yeah, I would argue, too, that should have had that stop on 4th down at the goal line, and then there wouldn't have been a passing touchdown against them for 7 straight weeks, which is pretty crazy. Luke Braun, give me something nerdy.
Yeah, so of the bottom 10 quarterbacking games played this year, no team has even been on either side of more than one of them, except for the Vikings, who were witness to one, Jake Browning, Bengals disaster. That was the second worst game played all year. And then they have facilitated 3 of these. Both of the Max Brosmer games are in the top 5, and then JJ McCarthy versus the Packers is 8th. They have created 3 of the worst quarterbacking games all season long. This has an argument to be the worst offense in the league.
I'm surprised Goff wasn't on that list.
Not even close.
Really? Still completed enough passes, huh?
Yeah, by EPA per dropback. That's the stat I'm using here.
Yeah, they still they still produce a little bit.
We're talking like Geno Smith getting shut out by the Chiefs. We're talking the Brosmer games. We're talking Cooper Rush against like we Goff had a poor game, but we're talking about something special here.
The 2025 Vikings are super enigmas. Arif left, and now he's back for his nerdy stat.
Hi. Sorry, Braun was talking, so I had to dip out.
Fair.
That tracks.
I'm gonna continue. Yeah, I'm gonna continue the nerdy stat. I think it was from last week. That the Vikings have now. So True Media does not include the aborted fumbles as part of Jared Goff's per play EPA or whatever. So he only has a negative 0.18. But I've done the math and added it back in. So I looked at which quarterbacks have like played the Vikings and have played other teams, and there's a continuation of like last week where 3 quarterbacks have had their single worst performance all season. This year when they played the Minnesota Vikings. 3 other quarterbacks had their second worst performance all year when they played the Minnesota Vikings. So Browning, Daniels, Goff had their worst performances. And then Darnold, which is fun, I guess. Darnold, Dylan Gabriel, which I don't know if you count that because he only had 5, and Michael Penix had their second worst performances all year against this Minnesota Vikings defense. If it wasn't for Hurts and Herbert, if it wasn't for the 2 games where they just couldn't close in on a sack, this would probably be considered, one of the best defenses of the past 5 years.
It's crazy thinking back to that Falcon game because that's the second time I've heard just how bad Michael Penix was that night, and it's just too bad they let Bijan run all over them because it kind of got obviously overshadowed quite a bit.
Is that the biggest like what if loss of, because you could end up half a game out of a playoff spot.
Maybe 4-2 instead of 4-1.
Right, and I do want to point out too that if the Cowboys beat the Packers instead of tying them, the Vikings would have the tiebreaker on the back of that Cowboys game. So this would have been a game for the 7th seed if that was a loss for the Packers instead of a tie. They were that close.
Of course, one of the funniest games of the season would come back to bite the Vikings. Yeah. That's so funny.
We would have been so dialed in on that Derrick Henry, Snoop Huntley performance
we would have
Saturday
been
night. That would have been unbelievable.
We would have needed the Bears. We would have needed the Bears to beat the Packers for that to play out that way.
Oh, right.
So we would have needed that onside kick.
Yes.
Oh my God.
We would have thought it was over and turned it off and been like, well, the Vikings are eliminated.
It is kind of crazy that there was a universe where this week Vikings fans could have twice said in different games, Snoop, take us home. That's nuts.
So good. It's so good.
Falcons
it's a total alternate reality. Or if they don't blow that Bears game.
Bears game, like Falcons, they got lambasted. Bears game, actually, you had it. You had that game in your clutches, and special teams, man.
I would even bring up the Steelers game. They were right in that right at the end, and then the offense kind of dissolved at that.
Yeah, had the ball
and,
like 25 yards from field goal range.
A couple of bounces are different. Like that Steelers game was pretty close.
But you're 3-2 going into the bye. You're right, Sam. You beat that Falcons team at home, no less, on Sunday night, and you're 4-1 going into your bye. Just feels different. Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's like 3 no-shows. You could say, hey, how about you like show up and be competitive in every game?
Yeah.
Maybe you steal one of those that you just got the crap kicked out of you.
there's a ton of interesting what ifs, right? Like, what if they did not sacrifice Carson Wentz at the altar of the Chargers, and maybe he gets to play 1 more, 2 more, 3 more games, and you put Max Brosmer out there, put an end to the Brosmer controversy, right?
Well, yeah. What if it's Carson Wentz instead of Brosmer in Seattle?
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like that's you. Like again, Sam Darnold had his second worst game of the year. Yeah. Like
that was very winnable if your offense does anything.
Brian Flores is a free agent, per Kevin Seifert. When we come back, we talk about the teams that could steal him from Minnesota this offseason. Coming up on the Squad Show. We are brought to you today by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts a business for the joy of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. That's where Gusto comes in to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one, remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. Whether you're hiring, onboarding, or paying employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise changes at the end of the month. That's super, super handy. Knowing you can reach certified HR experts anytime gives you the peace of mind to sleep well at night. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. Get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. One more time, gusto.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, back in the Vikings Squad Show, part of the #1 sports podcast network. Check out Luke Braun on Locked On Vikings all week as he gets ready for the Packers game. Let's assemble a little list. Who's going to have a coach opening and who's going to have a coach opening that is not in a lawsuit against Brian Flores? Because there are 2 different lists.
Take out that team. Take out that team.
So here's the start of my. I think there are 3.
So you're talking head coach or just D coordinator?
Well, let's talk about that. So he's a free agent. That means he could interview for other D coordinator jobs, and there could be a bidding war.
Obviously, less likely
for his services if he wants a lateral move to make more money. Hard to believe the Vikings wouldn't pay that money, but that's on the table. Head coaching wise, I'm putting the Raiders on the list if they're one and done with Carroll. I'm putting the Browns on the list. I don't think Kevin Stefanski is guaranteed to return. I am putting the Arizona Cardinals on the list.
Giants?
The Giants, that's a lawsuit team.
That's a lawsuit team. I doubt that's where that goes.
Yep.
What about the Cincinnati Bengals?
I was thinking Bengals are,
but
I was thinking Bengals or Cowboys there.
So my question for Flores is how deeply he's evaluating ownerships, right? Because that's going to be critically important to him after his, relationship with Stephen Ross had broken down and his understanding of how important NFL owners are, which I think excludes the Cardinals and the Browns from the list for him.
Well,
you could maybe even argue the
Davises in Las Vegas, maybe.
Yeah, that would
where you want to be either. But the Brady element there, I don't know if that's is that a pull or is that a negative for a potential candidate?
I think it is.
I think it's a pull for Flores specifically.
Yeah,
who has a relationship with him?
The New England connection. Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So Arif, you're eliminating the Browns on the basis of ownership. You're eliminating the Cardinals on the basis of ownership. Like, I mean, Flores, I don't think he can. Maybe he wants to. Maybe he's going to be really disciplined about this. I'm not sure that he's going to be picking and choosing like Ben Johnson style where he wants to land based on the limiting factors, right? Like he might only get one crack. And if he gets an offer, if he gets an interested team, go ahead.
I think one of his goals is to not be miserable. And so I don't know.
I mean, it's your last shot.
After the experiences he's had with the NFL and how much support he's received from the Steelers and the Vikings, right? I think it is really important to him. I'm speculating, I don't know. But I think it's really important to him for him to find the right job and not the open job. And if that open job is not the right job, whether or not he can find the right job at all, I don't think he's going to it. I don't think he's going to the Bengals. Don't think he's going to the Cardinals. I don't think he's going to the Browns. I'm confident that this clip will age poorly and we'll have to play it back in March. But
fault him.
I don't see him going to a bad ownership after his experiences with bad ownership.
I think you're onto something, even if you're maybe overconfident. But like, think of it if you were Brian Flores. You maybe have had you get one shot again. You're not going to get a third shot if you're Brian Flores and the reputation you have and the way the league is. Some of these franchises in the league view you, right? So you have to get this right. You cannot just step into a, Lovie Smith in Houston style, I'm going to get another shot and then find out I'm a lame duck kind of thing. Otherwise, you'll never be a head coach again. Like, you have to get something that is real, that has, like, a franchise that has potential, but for whatever reason is looking for another head coach, not because they were entirely dysfunctional and they're 5 years of rebuilding away from being serious again. One team that jumped out to me that is in a pretty rough spot in terms of like their personnel and their cap and stuff, but does have, I think, pretty serious ownership that he could like, and has enough pieces where, especially on defense, where you could see a bit of a longer leash, is Atlanta.
Move on from Raheem. Go, and Raheem's on the defensive side. So you'd be going defense to defense, which you don't see that often, but could happen. I was going to throw – I actually thought you were going to go this direction, another NFC South team.
The
Tampa.
Bucks. Yeah.
With the way they've collapsed, changes.
Yeah.
They've lost 4 in a
Tampa
row.
would be perfect for him, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They've lost
but
4 in a row.
I just have seen
7
some rumblings about Raheem Morris in Atlanta and how bad this season has gone and how bad their spot is, and maybe wanting to go into become a team with a different identity, which I think is what the Falcons are lacking. There are a lot of kind of disconnected pieces. You bring Flores into Atlanta and he immediately is like, okay, this is a Flores team running the Flores defense. Like, immediately there's a very, very clear vision for what they want to do. And I think that would make it a lot easier for them to build with the limited resources they have. And how fun would that be with guys like James Pierce and Michael Walker?
Yeah, young pass rushers. Right.
I wonder just with the development of Michael Penix if they want to go more offensive oriented. But
yeah,
you're right. Yeah, you make a good case.
Young struggling quarterback, not exactly Flores' favorite.
Yeah, really his bread and butter.
But I think to the ownership point, it's a lot of there's a lot of good reasons for him to stick around and sign a new contract with the Vikings, which they can get done any minute they want. They can do that well before the expiration date.
I think it was reported the Wills, the ownership, has had direct contact with him as well, which is not really something you see with coordinators a lot either.
That they're working on it. Yeah, like if they're having a dialogue, they know the deadline.
Yeah.
Typically, if one side wants it and the other side wants it, it gets done.
It's weird because it feels like Flores has like all the leverage inside the Vikings building. Like, Vikings cannot afford to lose Brian Flores right now. They can't. They have too many other pressing needs already going into the offseason. $30 million over the cap, quarterback uncertainty. Can you actually hit a draft pick this year? They can't lose Flores too, right? But it does feel like he's got all the leverage, but at the same time, limited amount of options. After we just crossed off, it felt like a third of the league already.
Yeah, the free agency aspect, it's like if he's got a good agent, and I'm sure he does, it will not be hard to drum up enough interest to have him.
It takes one or two teams to
blank
drive
check.
that price up. Yeah.
Blank check just to be the defensive coordinator. Yeah.
And I'm sure that the goal for the agent is as much money as possible. And if Flores does want to go somewhere else and be a head coach or not deal with a developing quarterback, he definitely has the freedom to do that. But I think it still kind of has to be that Flores has to like actively want to do something else. And he's got a lot of great relationships with the players here.
I think he wants to stay.
He's had a good time. I think he is not miserable.
He's gotta be having fun.
To use Arif's heuristic. So I'm hopeful, but he's going to leave eventually, someday.
If he did, if it was a lateral move to a D coordinator, I do like the Cowboys or the Bengals. Not saying that I think that would happen. Again, I think there is no lateral move. I don't think he's going to, a different team to be a D coordinator to make an extra $500,000 or $1 million.
What if
Jerry Jones, just gives him the moon
maybe
to go down there?
What if Jeff Hafley gets a head coaching job somewhere, and then suddenly that D coordinator thinks, "Ooh, what if I want to coach Micah Parsons?"
I think I'd have to bow out for 2026. Relax. Take a year off.
One question on the Browns: if Stefanski leaves, does he get scooped up for a head coaching spot right away? And if not, could he be the new play caller in Minnesota? Bring him home.
I think that's possible. He's been a head coach for 6 years, not really gone anywhere.
Well, no quarterback, though, either.
Given a terrible deck, yeah.
No draft picks, no quarterback, no money.
Baker Mayfield was there when he showed up, and he had a big hand in the Deshaun Watson thing.
I'm sorry, Mike Prefer won a playoff
did not.
Game. Mike Prefer won a playoff.
Mike Prefer won a playoff game. But it's I don't think he goes like Mike McCarthy style right back into it. I don't know if he quite has that reputation because he's just been around for 6 years. But the Browns in the last 6 years, I don't think have been like the McCarthy Packers were, where you thought, you could just bring him right into the next job and hope it works.
Yeah. I mean, we are a week away. A week from now, we could be discussing breaking. Like, we could play this sound. Vikings parting ways with West Philly. Like, that could be next week. We're close. And Black Monday, we're going to have firings. There's going to be movement. It'd be nice to have some Flores resolution quickly and not draw this out into February, March, wondering what the defensive coordinator is. This would be a good one.
They have to make decisions about the defense, and they got to know who's coordinating it. But usually this staff stuff, a lot of this gets resolved like right around the Super Bowl. Like, they're probably not, unless they get the contract done, it's probably not going to drag out too far beyond all that. But like, Super Bowl week is when we're like filling out assistants and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Taylor in the chat, what if John Harbaugh gets fired?
We need a special teams coordinator.
Steichen's safe.
Steichen is safe, yeah. He gets a ton of credit for the Daniel Jones renaissance.
I think Steichen's safe, yeah.
Apparently Arif has been miserable because he can't hear us, but you sound great. You sound great to us,
Look
man.
good. You sound
Can
good.
you hear me?
I can barely hear any of you. I'm barely following along in the conversation. All of your videos are frozen to me, and I just hear like every other word, and I have to piece together what it is I surmise you're talking about so that I can respond. And so far, I think I've been doing a pretty good job, but it is a lot.
We're talking about possible fired head coaches that could join the Vikings on staff.
We had in the chat earlier asking about McCarthy this week. I think we'll talk about that on the other side of a quick break. Could that be kind of the cherry on top of a good end of the season? Could you get one final JJ McCarthy gem to go into the offseason with? And will it be Clayton Tune on the other side? Little Packers preview, and we'll update the gambling contest going into the final week after a brief pause. Viking squad show rolling on. The hairline fracture in the throwing hand. That doesn't sound like an injury that you're putting him out there with. Arif has left us. That doesn't sound like an injury you're putting him out there with if there's any chance it could get worse. But they haven't ruled it out. It would be cool. It would be cool to get one more game banked up with JJ McCarthy, even in a meaningless scenario. That would be a real positive. And hey, I don't care about draft position really at all at this point. 13, 18, who cares? Let's just get a good McCarthy performance. Now, if it's Brosmer against Clayton Tune, I may need to enucleate my eye sockets. Look it up in Webster's. It's a word. It's a thing. I'm not sure I can handle Tune versus Brosmer. But if it's McCarthy, then border battle's on. I'm in. I'm invested in the game. Inman, your thoughts?
Well, how about just going into the offseason saying McCarthy has checked every NFC North opponent box as well? You beat the Bears week 1 with that big 21-point comeback. Obviously, you beat the Lions in Detroit. And then, yes, I get it. Yeah, third-string quarterback. But just to be able to say, for all the ups and downs and plenty more downs than ups, but just to be able to say that he did knock off each NFC North opponent, that would be nice as well. So, yeah, at any game at this point that he can add to his resume, just continue to get some more valuable reps, I think is important for his development. Obviously I don't know what it's going to look like, but yes, certainly you gotta again, try to check as many boxes when it comes to answering some of these questions, or at least getting in. We're in the collecting information stage with JJ McCarthy, and can only do that at this point, I guess. And, unless he's out there on the field.
Yeah. I would love if the good JJ McCarthy was more than 2 games or 2.5 games. Like I would love if we could kind of have one more solid outing that can cement, okay, something changed around that Commanders game and he's been so much better since then and all that. Like that you can say more about that than, hey, it's against a terrible defense. The problem is, here's another nerdy stat for you. The Packers defense, sans Micah Parsons, has been about as good but as the Commanders and Cowboys. So this is setting up perfectly for like a beautiful, super fake, go get a bunch of production. If he can play, if he can get out there,
225 yards he passed for. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Get a little momentum, rush for another touchdown, have a little fun in front of the fans. I want it really bad, but obviously we have to wait.
It would be kind of fun to get kind of like a mirror version Jordan Love accomplished against the Packers, right? Where like the back half of the season, it fills you with insane confidence.
Is he good? I don't know.
To ask questions like, was it real development, or
and just ignore that it was the second teamers.
Yeah, how much credit?
The vibes fade. Vibes fade over time. Being 9-8, that's forever. Winning season.
So that's my question then. We ripped Kevin O'Connell. Luke Braun did episodes about firing him. He's still doing episodes.
I just uploaded one
about
today.
Replacing Kevin O'Connell. But if they like, what a culture win to finish 9-8 and 5-0 in the final 5. Like, do we need to? I think 2 things can be true at once. But in a broad sense, do we need to eat crow a little bit with the way that he got the train back on the tracks, albeit too late in the game?
I think O'Connell being carried by Flores is like an immutable truth for the year.
Yeah.
Like this is the worst offense we've seen in at least a quarter century. The defense carried these guys.
It's more of a testament to Flores, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Being able to dominate defensively, the EPA, the DVOA, all that stuff with such a bad offense as well. Like they're being out on the field constantly, short fields, whatever it may be. I don't think we're eating crow. Again, it's still good. You're still the head coach of a team that's won 4 in a row, potentially 5 in a row to go into your offseason. So that's good. But I don't think anybody's who's kidding who. I think it's more about the Flores impact, I think, than KOC turning around this offense and this team these last 4 weeks.
Fair statement. Let's update the gambling contest over the weekend.
Let's not. Let's wrap it. Get out of here.
We all went 0-2. But this was a more damaging 0-2 for me because I bet the max minimum range. For those that aren't initiated, we have betting ranges. We have minimum range bets, medium, and max. I lost about $13.60 total. Arif and Braun bet the minimum. They only lost $3.40. So here's where we stand heading into the final week. Arif leads with $4.79. Braun at $1.93. I have dipped down to minus 800 off of our original 1,000. Luke Inman has one more crack at some crazy parlays. You are 14,700 in the hole, my friend.
Right there.
Right where you want to be.
Hey, did anybody sweat at all when my Isaac Tesla props hit? Anytime touchdown, over 20 yards. Nobody?
I did. I clocked it.
Nope.
I clocked it when he scored. I said, "Uh-oh. Here comes Spinman. Look out." That guy's good, by the way. So major strategy this
Aldrick
week.
Robinson season of all time. Aldrick Robinson seasons.
Great name.
Arif with the lead. How aggressive do you be? I think I have to be aggressive. How aggressive is Braun? This is like a Final Jeopardy situation where your bet is going to determine a ton. I think that if I could go the parlay route and ensure that if one of two hits, I win, or do I just try to get up to your guys' level?
Well, it's winner take home, right? I mean, winner take all, right? It's just first place get something, which we don't even know what first place is getting. Yeah.
If anyone goes 2-0, we haven't decided on the prize. I think we should customize the prize to whoever wins, right? Like if Luke Braun wins, what are we going to do with Luke in California?
Send him some hot wings because he loves hot wings.
Exactly. He loves hot wings and he loves
my relationship to spicy food is forever changed. For the better, honestly.
Oh, great! I thought
so
I
was
going the other way.
So you owe us
a debt of gratitude.
Right.
Let's end the show with this.
It's time to tell you who spilled their proverbial drink on the sofa. Get ready for this week's party foul.
My one Netflix gripe: couldn't fast forward through the ads. Netflix is too smart for that. So I'm watching the game on delay. Don't like doing that because then you can't check Twitter. But couldn't catch up in the ads because they forced you to watch them, which is good on their part. Makes sense. Business decision. That was not. I was not used to that. That was bothersome. So then to catch up, I had to fast forward through Snoop. It was the only time I could do it. Does anyone feel bad for me? Any sympathy? No one's gonna groan and say, "Oh, Sam."
I think there were a lot of issues.
At least like 9 seconds
barely any idea what you said, Sam.
Arif has no idea. I just wanted some sympathy.
Arif's completely
He'll
lost.
get there. Just give him a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to assume this is a party foul segment because I heard Sam talk about a gripe he had with Netflix that he said it sounded like he tried to fast forward through some ads, maybe on rewatch, and now he's asking people to feel bad for him. I have no idea what any of this is about, so I'm just going to complain about the NFL Network broadcast. Great. I'm going to complain about the NFL Network broadcast with Rich Eisen and Kurt Warner, and it wasn't just that Rich Eisen is not, fit for play-by-play or anything like that. He isn't. It's not his bag. But the entire production was catastrophically bad. It was like listening to a game underwater. Muted sounds everywhere. Almost no crowd noise. And it wasn't because it was a Chargers home game, although that's fair enough. I've watched other Chargers home games. The whole deal is a lot more exciting than what we actually saw. That was pretty bad. You got no crowd noise. You got no on-field football noise, which is crazy. It takes you completely out of the product. It felt like Eisen and Warner were not even there, even though they physically were there, and had no idea what was going on. Kurt Warner had to be prompted to do color analysis, and Eisen's play-by-play was so awkward and stilted, and it didn't flow. It took you out of the game. How boring everything was, and Eisen is typically a pretty enthusiastic commentator. I think that's what a lot of people like about him. But in play-by-play, he doesn't transmit that enthusiasm or energy into the product on the field. So it was bad. The play-by-play was bad. The color commentary was bad. But I think that isn't as bad as the entire rest of the production being as dead and lifeless as it was. And it was particularly easy to notice how awful it was because I switched over from the Pop-Tarts Bowl over to this game, and the Pop-Tarts Bowl had outstanding production. It was lively as hell. Incredible. It was incredible. And I'm not even just talking about how great the game was, which it was. I'm not talking about how great the Pop-Tart trophy sacrifice stuff is. That's awesome. Love it. It's just the production itself. It was lively. It was enthusiastic. There was energy. The diegetic sound and the actual production sound, like all of that flowed together and it added excitement to the game. It felt like you were in this super hyped up college atmosphere. This Chargers-Texans game was just awful. It was a good game.
That was a thorough
production was awful.
Excoriation of the NFL Network. Well done. Party fouls for the Lukes.
Mine also is going to go to the Pop-Tart Bowl. Fantastic production. Love the Pop-Tart Bowl. However, the decision to have one of the Pop-Tarts jump off the toaster at the end, just so that you can advertise your high protein kind, one massive reminder that this whole thing is a commercial, that we've been watching and enjoying a commercial. They do such a good job of making you forget that you're watching a commercial, and that just totally takes you out of it.
You were taken out of the immersion of the Pop-Tarts Bowl and a reminder that the Toaster Trophy was a commercial because of the slamming strawberry knee drop off the toaster. That's what got you?
Yeah, absolutely.
They ate twice as many Pop-Tarts as they did last year. It
should have been 3 times. I don't know.
Slamming strawberry.
The whole thing is
he's creating a narrative.
Dream.
It's fine. It's fine.
If this guy's jumping off, that ruins. Does that mean they don't really all want this? Are they all being held at gunpoint? The look in their eye is a little pained. Now I'm worried.
Okay. So I think that this does bring up some really significant. No, it does bring up some really significant lore questions. I agree, but I believe that Slammin' Strawberry also wants to be eaten, but was afraid of facing his future, afraid of success, afraid of achieving his dreams, and really. Doesn't that typify all of us?
You killed Inman. Inman, what do you?
Boy, yeah, I can't follow either of those, by the way. But party foul on the NFL. Christmas Day is for the NBA. Okay, we don't need 3 games. I'm sitting there yesterday afternoon, Sunday afternoon, and there's 2 afternoon games. Imagine paying for Red Zone Network, and you got Scott Anson doing play-by-play for 2 games in the 3 o'clock slate. Leave it for the NBA. Leave it for the NBA. That's just enough sports we all need to get away from our families for 10, 15 minutes to take a breather on Christmas Day. Okay, we don't need 3 NFL games from noon to about 9:30 p.m. on Christmas Day. We just
and while we're talking NBA, party foul on Scott Foster. Reasons are obvious. We got to roll. Thanks for watching, listening, commenting, and subscribing. Vikings Squad Show. Ron Johnson Show tomorrow. Squad Show returns Wednesday with the Care 11 crew, and we are back on, let's call it Friday this week, holiday on Thursday. Thanks for watching. We appreciate it, and we will talk to you next time.